Okay.
No, May, I'm in a meeting, sweetheart.
Right. Let me just find. Zoom. Excellent. Sorry, I had to find Zoom again, otherwise it makes it difficult for anyone who joins late. So good evening and welcome to Wincanton Town Council full council meeting via Zoom, live streamed onto YouTube on Monday the 28th of September 2020 at 7 p.m. I would like to firstly thank you all for coming along tonight, and I've just lost Zoom again. Sorry, I'm just putting it back up. I don't know why it's done that. My apologies, I'm just trying to make sure. Okay, I think we're fine. I know, I still think I'm delayed, which means I'm not where I should be. Okay, well, I'm going to endeavour to continue with where I am, and in the hope that everything moves as it should be. So welcome. Colleagues, tonight we have a full agenda, but before we move into the full council meeting, firstly we have public participation. To enable us to move into that section of the meeting, first I would like to say a few words. So public participation is a section where members of the public can present to council questions and comments which council can then receive from members of public in accordance with Standing Orders 3E and 3H. For clarity purposes, I'm going to read this to you just so we're all clear on 3E and 3H. So this is, you are invited to speak to council in accordance with 3E. Members of public may make representations, answer questions, or give evidence in meetings which they're entitled to attend in respect of the business on the agenda. 3H, in accordance with 3E, a question shall not require any question that should not require a response at the meeting, nor start a debate on the question. The chairman of the meeting may direct that a written or oral response it may be given in due course. What I would also like to say is public participation is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to council. Over recent months, it has come to pass that members of the public have actually spoken, verbally made comment and made attacks at individuals at council, which has caused upset and distress to members of council. I would ask during your 3 minutes, you use this time to present only questions to council, and I would now invite you to do so. So during your 3 minutes, which I will now ask you to do in a moment, you will present questions to council, and at the end of your 3 minutes, you will then finish that time, and at the end of the 20 minutes, sorry, I'm just letting someone in. At the end of the 20 minutes, the session will close and members of the public will no longer be able to speak during the meeting. Is everyone clear about public participation? That it's 3 minutes per person and questions are only to be directed at council? Yes? Can I have acknowledgement from those members of the public in the meeting, please? Thank you. So can I invite now members of the public to speak? And I noted that Lynn Franks, you've identified yourself as wishing to speak first.
Yes.
So can I invite you to speak?
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Lynn Franks and I own number 3 and 4 Marketplace, where I live and work. I run the Seed Shop and also the Seed Cafe, which is currently closed a lot of the time due to COVID regulations. We are still busy inside with a lot of online work that we do from here. For those who are curious, SEED is an acronym for Sustainable Enterprise and Empowerment Dynamics, based on my book, The Seed Handbook, The Feminine Way to Create Business, which has been a bestseller all around the world for the last 20 years. Despite it being a challenging time for many of us, I felt it was a good opportunity to come and discuss how I see the possibilities of Wincanton growing into its full potential as a sustainable town where the community can work and grow together. I also believe we are very blessed living in such a beautiful part of the world where on the whole, we are protected from some of the terrible issues affecting those who are in the big cities. My work involves me collaborating with organisations and networks in this country and around the world, and I have seen how so many new positive ideas have had a chance to grow in this difficult time. It appears, ironically, that so many aspects of life, from our economy, education, agriculture and the environment, have the opportunity for change for the better right now in this new space created by the pandemic disaster. And I can see how we as a community can work together to create community businesses, a barter and share system, a repair cafe, rewilding and replanting, and other excellent initiatives, some already in the pipeline as a result of the Mayor and others' various initiatives. Although a relative newcomer to Wincanton, I can see how this one small town of ours, through this lockdown, has shown how neighbours can support neighbours and ensure no one is left isolated. I believe Wincanton could become an example of what a town of less than 6,000 people can do to create new jobs, skills learning for our young, and cross-generational support. I believe that our council and mayor, together with the Balsam Centre, One Planet Wincanton, Catch and other local organisations and forward-thinking businesses and individuals have already shown inspirational leadership in encouraging a creative, regenerative plan which would allow Wincanton to grow into its full potential. At a time of global fear and constant bad news in the media, I believe Wincanton can come together as a community to become an example of what one small town can do. I, for one, am looking forward to working with this community on creating a positive future to benefit us all, and particularly our youth and children who are the future, and inspire other towns to follow suit. It is a time for collaboration, compassion and community, and I'm looking forward to being part of it all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lynn. Can I invite another member of the public if you wish to speak? Yes, Mr. Ellard.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to remind you about some unanswered questions that I have asked at previous meetings. I asked you on the 27th of July about the reasonableness of dissolution of the Personnel Committee after there was a complaint against you, the Mayor, and its subsequent reformation. On the 10th of August, I asked you 4 questions. One about your policy about harassment and bullying of staff. Secondly, about your decisions to suspend public participation and how that fits with standing orders. Thirdly, your understanding of joint and severability and whether insurance covers any claims from staff. And fourthly, about a public statement and reputational recovery. Do you believe the statement you issued last week addresses this? I don't. And then on the 24th of August, I asked you whether you knew about the general power of competence. And then finally, on the 14th of September, I asked for an update on the AGAR. I have some further questions for tonight. Can you update the town regarding the continued absence of the clerk and the current absence of the deputy clerk, who is, I believe, on annual leave? To whom do residents currently make contact should they need to? Further to that, in the light of a responsible financial officer, how are your financial decisions legitimate, particularly payments from the Good Stuff Fund? Do these meet your own policies regarding these matters? Your recent press release stroke public statement did not get discussed at full council, so this fails to meet your own standing orders. Your own lack of response to questions posed by myself and others in the town fails to meet number 4 of the Nolan principles that you spoke of at great length at the last meeting. And finally, have you spoken to the town council's insurance company regarding any potential claims from members of staff and identified whether they will provide legal advice instead of that being provided at the public's expense via SWC or others? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another member of the public who wishes to speak? If not, we will be drawing public participation to a close. No? So in terms of, thank you, Lynn Franks, for your presentation today. in terms of the comments made by Mr. Ellard, I believe the council have and will be responding to every question that has been stated in public participation. Those that are confidential will not be responded to. And in terms of the office and meeting our requirements in terms of providing a service to our town, that is being met. So moving on into the full agenda, if I may. So public participation is now closed. If you wish to leave the meeting, you may do so. If not, you're welcome to stay. So the first point on the agenda, before we move into point one, firstly, can I just do a roll call, please, to confirm who is on the call for our locum clerk? So I have on the call Councillor Thomas, Councillor Greening, Councillor Power, Councillor Smith, Councillor Waters, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Vagg, and Councillor Shelbourne Barrow. Have I missed anyone? Nope. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, correct. And can I ask councillors, have you received and read all the papers today? Yes, can you acknowledge by putting your hand up, or thank you. So I have acknowledgement from council, including myself, that we've read the papers. Thank you. Can we move into point one on the agenda? Apologies. So can I have from the locum clerk apologies, please?
Yes, it's Councillor Galitzine and Councillor Tudgay.
Thank you very much. Can I then move into item 2 on the agenda, which is delegations of interest. So members to declare any interest they may have in agenda items that accord with the requirements of the Code of Conduct. So do any councillors require to declare any interest in any item that's on the agenda tonight? Can you raise your hand if that is the case? No, thank you. Moving into minutes of the previous meeting. So this is to receive and sign the minutes of the Zoom meeting held on the 14th of September 2020 in accordance with Standing Orders 12C. So colleagues would have received the minutes, which I'm struggling to pull apart. So sorry, thank you. So in terms of the minutes, colleagues have read the minutes. So can I ask on page 1, 20028, 0029, are there any comments or amendments required within the minutes? If there are, can you raise your hand? No? Can I have a proposer for the minutes then, please? Councillor Vagg. And can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Waters. And a vote, please, from council. So I'm going to go around the screen. So I have Councillor Power, vote for Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Greening, Councillor Vatt, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow, and Councillor Thomas. So we have a full set. Is that correct? No one is...
Did you say Councillor Smith?
Did I say Councillor Smith? Councillor Smith, did I say your name?
Yeah. Okay.
Right, so all councillors have approved the minutes. And I will ask that the Deputy Clerk apply an e-signatory in due course. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Planning. So Councillor Thomas, as the planning officer, yes. Can I hand to you?
Thank you. Only one application, which is 20/02319/COU. Application for change of use from the Lloyds Bank, number 14 Marketplace, to a police station and inquiry centre. Ground floor only. First and second floors are already residential. It's not listed. It's in a conservation area. They don't plan to do anything unusual to the exterior. It's got parking at the back, I think, for 4 vehicles, police vehicles. And there are no comments. So I don't know whether anybody else has any view, but it sounds like a very good place for a police station.
I reviewed all the documentation, and it, like many buildings in Wincanton, it's got a funny, it's got an interesting shape because of the way it's built across various different. It's an odd. I don't envy anyone trying to find the legal position for everything.
Well, I suppose if anyone can, the police can. But I mean,
I'm sure. But I couldn't, from my perspective, it is Class A2. It didn't look as if there was anything of concern. I too had a look and saw no comments. Does anyone else, any councillors have any views or comments? I think it's a great place to have a police station. And
perfect. It's that or don't have one. I mean, that's just, which would be a bad thing.
I think, yes, I agree. So we've decided, I believe, last time that instead of saying no comment, we would say that we would change it slightly to turn it and say that we approved the application. Was that what we were talking about last time? To actually say.
So I think yes, I would say I would personally approve it, and I would propose it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Councillor Thomas proposes. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Power, and a vote from the floor, please. So I'm going to start at the base. So it's Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Greening, Councillor Vagg, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrett, and Councillor Thomas. That's a full set that I can see. Thank you.
Okay.
If I've missed anyone or I've wrongly counted you, please state now. Thank you very much. Any other items from reporting?
Not that I've seen, no. No.
Thank you very
Nothing
much.
else.
Appreciate
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.
Councillor Thomas, can you just email the Deputy Clerk just to make her aware of the outcome so that we can respond quickly to the
Absolutely.
planning application, please?
Yeah, we'll do. That was a unanimous, wasn't it? Yes.
Yes, it was. And we approved it because we have no comments at all. The checklist is next on our agenda, point 5. So colleagues would have seen the checklist. Are there any comments in terms of the checklist?
I've got one question,
Yes.
Councillor. The payment for the car parking, that's obviously part payment. How many of those will we be making? Do you know?
It's across 3 years.
So is that for the whole year, or is that for part of the year?
Oh no, we only make it's an annual payment, I thought. I don't remember, so I'm just trying to remember when we last paid that. Does anyone have access to our September minutes and agenda on our website to see? Because we obviously, our Deputy Clerk or Clerk aren't here to provide this information, but we paid it late. No, this is why. That's why it's out of sync. So during COVID, we didn't have to pay because all parking was free. So that meant we didn't start paying the payment that we agreed in precept until this time. So this is our first payment. So my understanding is we have not paid a payment yet because of the fact that it didn't get released in April because of COVID.
Okay.
And the fact I also haven't seen, and something I will chase up actually, is I'm not sure we've signed the contract for this. So I don't think we should approve that today because I'm not sure we've approved the contract.
Mhm.
And the rationale for that is we asked to make some amendments as council and for it to come back to council to approve. And it doesn't mean we're going to not approve the scheme. We asked for some amendments within it. And that was that we wanted a point in time to review the contract so that we could, at year 2, review it a year early, if you remember, rather than wait to 3 years. And although a week won't make, I don't think a week will make any difference, or 2 weeks will make no difference in the scheme of paying this, because it's obviously outstanding because we didn't pay it in April because of COVID and process. But I think we should see the contract before we actually pay the sum of money. How do council feel about that?
I mean, I'll propose that we remove that check number from the vote to approve the list.
I do recall us not signing it. I have to say, I do recall we were going to put some conditions on it. We weren't, as you say, we weren't going to refuse it. We were going to go ahead with it, but I'm pretty sure there was something we wanted to make known.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Ray was quite keen that happened as well.
Well, and also we were going to take it through the car parking committee, which we actually do have, to review it before it came to council. I think this is just a catch up because of what's happened in COVID. So I think if you're happy to propose that, Councillor Ralph, is there a seconder to not include that, Councillor Vag? Then we'll remove that today just to review this next week and just understand where the contract is. Thank you for that. Are there any other questions in relation to the checklist? If not,
we should vote on that. We've proposed and seconded, we haven't voted on it.
Voted.
no, I know we're voting a second, but before we do that, that was just for removing one part of it. But I want to make sure there are no further questions before we go for a vote. So if there's no further questions, can we then go for a vote, please?
Do we need to vote twice though, Sue? We need to vote on
Yes.
remove.
Is that correct, Locum Clerk? Can I clarify that?
I-
Because we've never
Yes,
removed a
you've
check.
had a proposer and a seconder for removing the check. So I would vote on that
Yes.
now and then do the vote for the rest of the checklist.
Okay, thank you. So can I have a vote to remove the South Somerset District Council car parking compensation scheme payment till we've seen the contract and approve the contract? So that is Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Greening, Councillor Vag, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrett and Councillor Thomas.
Yes.
So that's a full set. And in terms of the checklist, the rest of the checklist, if there's no questions, can I have a proposer, please? For the checklist, Councillor Power. But that was you putting your pen up, wasn't it, Councillor Power? And a seconder? Councillor Greening. And can I have a vote, please? If you're for the checklist. So Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Greening, Councillor Vag, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrett and Councillor Thomas. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, Locum Clerk, on that, because I don't think we've done that before. So that was a good point of identification. So thank you for that. We now need to identify 2 councillors, please, to sign checks. So you know who you are, those that are approved to sign checks, Councillor Vag and Councillor Waters. So are you able to sign this week?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Thank you. And Councillor Waters on Thursday?
I can come in tomorrow.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Tomorrow.
Yep.
Thank you very much. We will sort that out.
Right.
Okay. Moving on, we now move to verbal reports. So I have a number of blank screens. So can I invite Somerset County Council to?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, fellow councillors. Thank you for everything you do for your community at this very special time. Coronavirus update. Whilst every death is undoubtedly an absolute tragedy, the situation in Somerset has been throughout the pandemic relatively quiet compared to the rest of the country. The current number of deaths across the county is 4% below the 5-year national average. All pupils seem to have returned to school and been welcomed back by all the head teachers, and everything seems to be running quite smoothly. County Council introduced 20 new buses to try and help the flexi times for starting school and leaving and address the problems at peak times. I'd like you to contact Somerset Community Foundation for any grants that you think you may need to help with people in need in Wincanton especially. So I would encourage any groups to actually apply to them. I would very, very much like you to support local business. It's really important that we support our local businesses to keep them going in these times, because if we don't support them, they'll die and we'll never have them back again. And I'm really worried about that. I'm really concerned that we need to keep the businesses we have and try and attract some new ones. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we have someone representing the district council? I'm wondering if the black iPad is either Colin or Nick. If not, that's fine. I'll just note that. That's fine. Okay, so chairman's report. And then I will move to outside bodies, if I may, councillors. So first, in terms of chairman's report, since our last meeting, we've held a WEEP, so Wincanton Ecological and Environmental Group, on the plan that's associated with it. This is, I think, the second meeting we've had since returning to meetings via Zoom. It was a really positive meeting. We're starting to look at ways to move forward in terms of projects and pieces of work to help not only people but our environment and nature, and some fun things in terms of within our year one plan and across in terms of our Wincanton for the Future plan to actually see what we can do to attract footfall into the town. So we're very much looking at that, and you'll hear more about that as we move forward. We were expecting a visit from the High Sheriff, but due to unforeseen issues, the High Sheriff was unable to attend for a second visit to our town, which was quite sad. But we will be rearranging that, and when she comes back, she'll be looking to meet with a number of key groups in the town, which will be exciting to do again. And she is very keen to look at our town and see some of the history in our town as well as the group. So that would be a good thing to do before the end of her first year term. Moving forward, we've started to look at our review our town offer that started in March 2020. This is a social action plan, and we're looking to see how we can move forward with it. With winter coming and obviously Brexit, this isn't about a medical model, this is social, and we'll be looking to see what that would look like and linking with the co-op and others around food share. And we're quite keen as part of our year one plan to move forward our food share or our fridge, so that food, instead of it going to waste, if it's still edible but not, people can't sell it, it's available to anyone to come and pick up and use, which is really important. So we reduce waste. So we've got lots of initiatives moving forward, and that's one of the key ones that we're doing. And moving forward, we're just in the planning stages to the next stakeholder group, which will look at the next edition of the Good Stuff Fund, which will look at projects and programs of work that will help our town, individuals in our town, but also groups, wildlife and the environment. So lots of positive work linking to our town council plan, but also linking outside our council to groups, charities and work streams. So lots of exciting things to look forward to. So we have under our new job or duties for councillors attending outside bodies, are there any councillors who wish to present anything today? No? That's okay, because I know that we've got a big discussion coming. Oh, hello, Councillor Waters.
I'm sorry, my battery's about to go, I think. From the Live at Home scheme, which has now actually been renamed. It is now MHA Communities South Somerset, because it was felt that Live at Home didn't reflect the organisation closely enough, and Communities gives a better description, so they say. We have not, I'm not quite sure at the moment if we have a chairman or chairperson. We should know tomorrow because the previous chair resigned a few weeks ago. So they're continuing to work with people in the community, but they can't have any groups or anything yet. But they're hoping, you know, towards the new year, probably.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And I believe that's it for now in terms of outside bodies, but we look forward to more as we move forward, because we've got an agenda item where we'll be looking at representation or council representation on outside bodies. Okay, item 7 on the agenda is the police report. So we haven't had one of these for some time, and actually thank you for Councillor Thomas bringing it up that we hadn't seen one for a while. So colleagues, have you managed to review the document and the numbers within it? Yes, Councillor Thomas.
I'm not sure I actually received it. I got something that was a sort of very, normally it's the police reports I remember used to say things like, you know, assault 3, burglaries 5, that sort of thing. Is that the report that we've had this time? Because I've got a different.
We have, but I think what they've done is they've sent, this is obviously a bit about COVID and outbreaks and beat surgeries and so forth, and then it goes into more details. So
yeah, it's very specific.
Antisocial behaviour in Kell Park on the 12th of August, and driving in Southgate, Wincanton on the 7th of August. But at the back, under categories, in July 2020, there were 40 crimes recorded in this beat, which is Wincanton Town. And category-wise, antisocial behaviour, there is 10. This would be useful if it compared to the same time last year. It does have previous month, but I don't have, this is not a digital version, it's a hard copy, so I can't actually click the link to go back. So antisocial behaviour 10, burglary 1, criminal damage arson 2, other theft 7, public order 2, vehicle crime 1, and violent crime 17. So what I would suggest is when you have a moment to go into the report, and on this page where it has, it's page 3 of 5, there is a link to previous month. And again, the only thing I can suggest is you look back in our minutes on our website to the same time last year, unless they offer that opportunity. But this looks like a new report. And there's more detail actually in the around the antisocial driving in Southgate. There's more detail in this, I have to say. It's a better report in terms of providing more information. Do councillors have any views, comments? Yes, Councillor Ralph.
I just wanted to note, I can't speak to whether there's an increase in crime or anything like that, because I haven't compared the statistics and qualitative and quantitative data, but certainly some residents have raised concerns around this in the town.
Yeah.
I know, you know, people have suffered vandalism. The town council itself has suffered vandalism in terms of some assets. So I don't know if there's anything we can do, but I just think as a council, we need to note this. You know, it's not really within our remit, but we need to watch carefully. And if we do need to apply our support or any pressure to the organisations that do deal with this, then that's something we should be doing.
I don't disagree with that. Generally, I think that's a really good approach to it. I would say there is something about I think there has always been a very good working relationship between the town council and the local police station, and the police officers and what they called the PCSOs. That wander around. You see them around the town at differing times, and if the police station is moving as well, that would be great again. To actually talk to them about what opportunities we have around strengthening what we do and how we do it, and where they've got learning from other areas, because we're maybe seeing a difference. It's difficult to know when you don't. It's only hearsay, really. It's how people are feeling. But unless you've got data and narrative to support it, it's really difficult to make that real evidence-based approach. But actually, if we did that and then said, what are others doing about supporting it, I think that will be a very positive way of managing it. And I was actually going to approach the police and actually ask them around that anyway, around areas in the town where we have seen behaviour that's maybe not even our residents, but to try and that feeling of safe, because actually it's about feeling safe, and what we could do about that, and making it balancing it out so people feel safe, but it's realistic, so people aren't feeling unrealistically unsafe, because that's also an issue in its own right. But it's a worrying thing where we are at the moment in this world and where we are as a country. And I think your point is well made, Councillor Ralph. And I think we do need to look at what we can do as a council. And maybe it will be a good thing. I know that the office staff have a working relationship with the police station, but maybe it might be a good thing to have a linked councillor going forward. And you build a rapport up, particularly anyone that's outward facing in any of the groups where you're out in the community, in Kale Park or whatever it might be, engaging with our community. And I'm not talking young, I'm not talking children or families or older, I'm saying community, because actually this isn't about age, this just is about people for me. And it's a pressured time. So all points are valid and well made. And I do think looking at that as a point around a link councillor and maybe approaching the police and just understanding how we compare to others might be an interesting point to do. So could you note that, Clark, Locum Clark, please, as an action, and we'll pick that up. Are there any other comments in relation to the police report? I note actually in correspondence there was another one. Do you want to bring that forward, or are you happy to note it later, Council?
Is that referring to the car theft?
Yes.
Yes. No, I don't have any questions there myself.
No.
No? Well, we'll leave it there then in correspondence, and we'll just note that we've read it and I reviewed it. So if there's no comments anymore in terms of the report that we've received, then we'll move on to point 8 on the agenda, which is town meeting. So this item is on the agenda in response to correspondence from a previous meeting we received from residents in the town, and this is for council to discuss. So I'm going to open it up now for council to have any comments or views on this matter. And for us then to move forward to some sort of resolution. Councillor Ralph and then Councillor Vagg.
Have we received any guidance or advice as to how we manage the town meeting? Because it's not something I've experienced before. So I'll be interested to hear that.
Okay, and Councillor Vagg, is your question similar or different? You're muted, I'm afraid, Councillor Vagg.
A rare occurrence. I did look today because one of the things about these town meetings, and I looked it up in the Good Councillors Ask Your Council information, is that quite frequently they lead to a poll subsequently. Because of the election lockdown, there could not be a poll before the 6th of May next year. And it says in the guidance that the meeting, the poll is normally within 2 to 4 weeks of the meeting. So I'm not quite sure when you can have the meeting and whether it should be, you know, within the period just before 6th of May next year or whenever it's set. But the other thing is that we have a rule of 6, and I've looked at the exceptions to the rule of 6, and I can't see that a town meeting would fit any of those exceptions. So I don't think a town meeting could be held at this time.
Thank you. So in terms of clarifying your comment, Councillor Ralph, in terms of national policy, Councillor Vag, I think, is correct around the rule of 6 and around large group meetings. There are no, we have no ability for even council to meet, let alone any other body of a group of people to meet in terms of a meeting. In work, yes, but not in terms of a parish meeting like that. It's not, I don't believe, from what I've read, and Councillor Vag has confirmed, I believe, it fits within the remit of national policy as it currently stands. So I can't see when we could hold, this meeting could be held. Is that what you were looking for as a response, Councillor Ralph?
Yes, that's all really useful. I was just wondering, and maybe we need to seek clarity from NELC or SELC in the first place about, well, I mean, obviously that doesn't sound like we can hold a meeting in person for a long time or can be held, but I've tried to find out about this and I'm very clear about whether the people that called the meeting need to organise the meeting or whether the town council needs to organise the meeting. There's something about how it should be clerked, you know, and I think we just need to find all these things out from a, you know, reputable source.
So in terms of, I'm just going to move my screen over, if you don't mind, for a moment to block something because it makes my life easier. Councillor Power?
Do you think we should ask the people that have called the meeting to put a plan together if we're not organising it, and then we could possibly, if they want us to work with them, we can help them out on the plan for the meeting, such as the agenda and how it will run. Just that's an idea that if anyone else wants to put input on that one.
Okay, so in terms of the in terms of a town meeting, we are aware that residents can call a town meeting. We are aware as a council we pay for the town meeting. We are also aware that we have to, we are required to ask our clerk if they wish to clerk the meeting, because the meeting will be required to be clerked. We are also aware that there will be a charge for the town meeting and any subsequent action that may come from that meeting. So in terms of whether we attend or not, there will be a requirement for us to secure money within the precept or within the taxes that we will apply next year for 21-22 for the town meeting and indeed for the elections. The 5 elections that will be held on the 6th of May 2021, subject to South Somerset District Council holding those elections on that date. If the other 2 elections run on that date, if not, it may well move to a subsequent date. So in terms of our role, we as a council are required to fund the meetings. We are not required to hold the meetings. We are not required to actually advise on those meetings, in particular around COVID. because wherever that meeting is held, it will fall under national policy and the requirement of wherever the venue is that it's held. So where we are at the moment, I think, is we know we have to, as a town council, protect money within a budget line for 21-22, and that will be in the region of 4,500 to incorporate the elections and the town meeting with a potential. Yes, Councillor Bagg.
Sorry,
I think
that goes straight on the council tax.
well, it will have to, because we won't be
So
using
the residents will be paying.
They will have to, because we won't be using reserves for it. But that is the way that we should be running this approach going forward. It's unfortunate we couldn't co-opt. We aren't, and there will be elections for those posts, and we will have to pay for it. And we need to budget on worst case scenario, which is £3,000, and we need to budget on worst case scenario for any other costs associated with the town meeting, because we as a council need to make sure that our books balance moving forward. So we've identified the estimated costs. We can correspond with the individuals, residents who requested the town meeting, to advise them that we will protect the money subject to going through precept and going, because that's a process in itself. So we have to take it through a formal governance process to protect the money so it's available for the election and any costs associated with the town meeting. In terms of what happens next around setting the meeting up and the process associated with that, that's down to the individuals. What I'm getting a sense of, this is down to the individuals who wish to hold that meeting. We will pay for that meeting out of the taxes that we will apply through precept, and we will offer the clerk the opportunity, if they wish, to clerk that meeting. Otherwise, we will have to find a clerk through precept to clerk that meeting, and the minutes of that meeting will need to be made available, as it says in the LGA guidance, that anyone can read, the general public can read under Schedule 12, 15 and 18E or C or something. Yes, Councillor Bagg.
I don't think we have to find a clerk. I just think the clerk can be asked if she would like to, she or he would like to clerk that meeting, minute that meeting. But if she doesn't want to do that, then I believe it's up to the people holding the meeting to make that arrangement themselves.
Yes.
Yeah,
So, okay, thank you for that, confirming that as well, Locum Clerk. So yes, Councillor Power. And then Councillor Ralph.
I'm just asking this question for members of the town that probably want to know, how much do you think their council tax will go up by?
Oh, that's a percentage wise. That's a challenge there,
That's
Councillor
further
Power.
maths, Tom.
Maths.
Because that's actually part of a bigger conversation around how we put precept up overall, but 4,500, it's difficult to say, and whether it's pence or pounds, it's difficult to say. I wouldn't even like to say that at this moment, if I'm honest, because that puts me in a difficult place. I'm not a mathematician. Councillor Ralph.
Yeah, if I may, Chair, in the efforts to sort of move this along, because I understand a lot more now. I'm very keen to see us correspond to the town meeting. So now we understand where we all stand on this. Are we able to reply to them so they're aware of, what's going on and what, know, we will obviously reserve these funds, but where we are with it, because we've had someone also ask, in public participation about this again.
Yes. So thank you there, Councillor Ralph. So please can I ask the Locum Clerk to note that we will be responding to the correspondence we received at the previous meeting, requesting a town meeting. We will be stating that the conversation we've had around protecting the funding for the town meeting within the precept, subject to precept being signed off, of course, because it is subject to that. If not, we will have to use reserves, and we will, as stated, offer the opportunity for our clerk to clerk that meeting. If not, it will be down to the individuals to clerk the meeting and organise the meeting in their own right anyway, and for them to demonstrate how they comply to national policy. So we will write that in better English than that, because that's not actually very well worded. But I apologise for that, because I hadn't actually prepared it in my head, because we hadn't had that discussion. But we will state national policy, state what we will protect money subject to going through precept. If not, we will use reserves, and that we're aware of our responsibility to ask the clerk. And if the clerk does not wish to clerk the meeting, then it's down to those that have wished to hold the town meeting to provide a clerk to minute the meeting accordingly, and we will, it was down to them to comply to the LGA 1972 policy document around town meetings. Okay?
That's right.
And we just need to note that now as a statement, don't we,
Yeah,
Councillor?
that's all.
Locum Clerk, thank you. Moving on then, unless anyone else has any comments they wish to make. Thank you very much. I'm scanning and no one's put their hand up. Moving on to the annual governance and accountability return, AGAR. So I'm just going to provide a verbal update, and then a brief verbal update, and then request approval of a replacement internal auditor. So, as you were aware, we have not signed off our AGAR for 1920. We are currently investigating with an accountant who is now taking over our financial governance to ensure that we're meeting our responsibilities under the responsible finance officer role that the clerk would normally hold, to make sure we're responding appropriately with all our accounts and financial responsibilities. And they are currently looking at the 1819 external auditors report to enable us to complete the 1920 report, and within that we will then be able to move forward to complete the internal auditors report. We have within that, this year we signed off an internal auditor. However, we have come to a point where we now need to replace that internal auditor to enable the report to be completed and comply with the governance and accountability framework that town councils are required to meet. And within that, meet a request that we submitted to extend submission of our AGAR to the end of October. So a request has gone in for September to be completed by AGAR, and then a further request has gone in to the end of October. We've put in an accountant to review our financial position. We have an internal auditor currently. We're looking to replace that internal auditor to complete the process within the accountability framework, so that we can get this completed within the timeframes that are required, subject to all the right processes being completed. And that's a verbal sort of overview of where we are. Does anyone wish to know anything else in relation to AGAR and where we are and the extensions? As soon as I have an extension for October, I will make you aware, Council. Yes, Councillor Ralph?
That just kind of answered my question, to be honest. That's
Sorry,
fine.
thank you. It's
That's
just
good.
it hasn't come in yet. So as soon as I have it, I will make you aware. Obviously, we were in breach. Even with an extension, we've been in breach since the end of August, but we have shared regular updates with the external auditors on why we have not completed it and the processes we are undertaking to enable us to comply. And we've shared regular updates with SALT to ensure they are fully sighted on where we are. So on that note, the next part of the agenda, next part of this conversation, unless anyone has any further questions about extensions and AGAR, is the replacement of the internal auditor. So I'm proposing we change our internal auditor who actually resigned when submitting their report this year to Emma Miller. And Emma Miller is an established accountant. She's undertaken AGAR reviews for many town and parish councils, and she provides quarterly and annual AGAR reviews. So she's capable, competent and qualified, and she has, I can't read the writing, but FAAT and ACMA. And she comes highly recommended from other councils that I've spoken with. So I've checked her credentials with others, and that's why I'm here today proposing that we accept her as our internal auditor to complete our AGAR for this current year that we're currently in breach of, so we could move forward to complete the task, basically, that's currently outstanding. So can I have any questions from council? No? Can I have David, Councillor Smith?
I've muted myself. Sue
Yes.
Place has just sent me an email asking for an invite to the meeting. She hasn't been able to get into the meeting. I've just sent her the link.
Thank you.
I don't know if she's going to get it in time because it came at 7:15. Her email came to me.
All right. Oh, she has indeed. Thank you, Councillor Smith.
Ah.
Well done. Thank you.
Hurrah. That was lucky.
Thank you. Hello, Sue Place.
Hello.
Apologies of the miscommunication around links and so forth.
Okay. I was just about to send you all an email to say I'm going to stop waiting now.
All right, I apologise. We will look at our processes and refine them to see if we can be better at making sure people who are coming in to speak have access sooner. So apologies about that. We're just completing our previous agenda items and then we'll be with you. Is that okay? Sue? Thank you. So if there are no further questions, can I have a proposer for Emma Miller and a seconder, please? A proposer is Councillor Ralph, a seconder is Councillor Smith, and can I have a vote, please, from Council if you're for Emma Miller becoming a new internal auditor for this current year? So going round the screen, I have Councillor Waters, Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Smith, Councillor Greening, Councillor Vagg, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow and Councillor Thomas. Is that a full set? I believe so. Have I missed anyone or misrepresented anyone? No, thank you. So I'll make Emma Miller aware. She's been appointed to our internal auditor, and I will provide regular updates on this because it requires us to be cited on where we are as we move forward in September and into October. So thank you for that. Next item on the agenda is insurance levels. So colleagues would have received item 10, insurance levels. Have you had a chance to review them? I mean, I know it's a difficult thing to do because it's rather big numbers and where it's not something we're used to doing, but have you managed to review and do you have any comments?
I have no comments, but I'm led to believe they're in line with, you know, previous years in terms of cover.
Yes.
So that's the only comment I suppose it is.
Yeah.
That wasn't me.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's one. Is it? Sorry. Is it? Is this more? Is the premium higher than last year? Same, lower, or do anyone? I mean, stuff rarely goes down, I suppose. But
it doesn't go down, but I haven't seen it.
Normally, it says your premium last year was. Your premium this year is.
Can I ask? The renewal premium. It states the renewal premium. What it doesn't state is it's gone up by. I think it has gone up because I remember a 3, not a 4 at the beginning of the number. And I also think it's very, I hadn't actually seen some of, to be honest, if I'm brutally honest, I don't think we've seen this policy come to council before in this way. And I think if Councillor Tudgate was here, he'd probably confirm that, because I don't remember seeing this level of detail. I think we've just had a discussion about had it gone up a bit or not.
Yeah, I mean, this is the full schedule, isn't it? So
it is the full schedule, yes. I also thought I would recommend, because there's some very interesting items in there that councillors have a look at, that I don't want to say out loud, but I think would be useful to review personally. But I would say this is an insurance company we have been with for some time. They have provided us with advice recently, and it's been very useful advice. And I would recommend, I would say that it was, I would say we support it, because I've not, I would not say that I can comment any other way. No. Because we've stayed with them for a long time. What I would say going forward is we probably need to do a piece of work which actually does, like many of us would do with any insurance policy, is a compare to others, and look at the same items and then compare the numbers, and even if it is more expensive, understand why it's more expensive. Councillor Greening.
I was just wondering if there was an opportunity, or someone could point me in the direction of what the policy actually covers. It seems a little bit kind of vague and slightly ambiguous.
It covers anything from material damage to premises, buildings to loss of rent. Oh, not loss of rent, sorry. No, none of that. Sorry, it just covers building insurance. It also goes down to excesses, 250 for storm, water, escape of water, falling trees and branches is the excess, accidental damage and theft. There's obviously around our staff, issues around staff are covered within it. Oh God, there's loads actually.
Yeah. Sorry, I haven't been able to see what you're reading then. I've just been looking at the policy schedule and the invoice. Is there a more detailed?
The policy schedule has everything. It's 23 pages on the schedule.
Yeah, it's pretty detailed.
Yeah. No, I'm with you now. Sorry,
a whole list of diseases we can get.
Oh my goodness.
Chair, are we required to decide and vote on this tonight?
Yeah.
What I don't know is we're meant to decide in September. We normally would do this in September to approve it. And does it October, from the first period of insurances, right, from the 1st of November to the 31st of October 2021. So we do have some time. So what, and the preparation date for this was the 6th. So it's only just been prepared, 6th of September. So what I would suggest is, there's too much in here, and I think it would be useful to have a conversation, have a better look at it, and have a conversation with our clerk and look at the previous deputy clerk and have look at the previous year's policy, which we do have. Some of you may well have, because of the various committees you're on, and actually look at it in more detail. But I do think going forward, we should have a group that looks at this in more detail before it comes to council. So where there is difference, we can pick that difference up and understand it in more detail before it comes here, because it's just too big to do in this meeting. Yes, Councillor Greening.
I would concur with what you're saying. Certainly, when you look at Part C, additional items, lawnmowers and gardening equipment, we're insured to the tune of nearly £17,000. But don't we rent our machines anyway?
We rent majority of them, yes.
Only one is leased. The other 3 we own.
Oh, I see.
Do we? I thought we rented all of them. So, okay, so I think then we probably need to have, yes, sorry, Locum Clerk.
Yes, I think you're in a bad position because, of course, your clerk is away. But normally the clerk, well before the insurance is coming up, would look at this and go through it from year to year, and if necessary, would get a quote from another insurance company just to check that this is being kept on the right limits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got time, I think. Thank you for that, Locum Clerk. I think, Councillor Ralph, would you mind picking this up with the Deputy Clerk next week and actually doing that piece of work with her to see if this is the best price we can get? I know that we've been with them for I believe we've been with them for some time. But it may be worth that conversation anyway in the first instance, and then even going through and doing that piece of what's changed, what's gone up,
that's fine, because I'm actually dealing with them directly at the moment in reference to the accident that happened to the town hall.
Yes. Okay.
So it's fine. That's fine.
Thank you for that. Are we all happy with that? So the agreement we've come to as a council is that Councillor Ralph will go away, liaise with our Deputy Clerk, understand what the variance was from the previous year, maybe undertake to gain another policy schedule from another reputable company to understand if we could gain a better value for money policy. Yes, sorry, Councillor. Sorry, I've just given you another job there, Sue. Do you want to speak, Sue? You're still muted.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that you look at Nature Save insurance company, who we've insured with for a long time. We found them very competitive, and if you've got any sort of environmental credentials, they're quite interested in you, which I think probably the town council is gaining its environmental credentials as time.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thank you for that contribution. I appreciate that. So are we all happy with that? We're going to go away, get another quote, make sure it's the best quote we could possibly have, understand about our equipment and that we are only covering what we need to cover, and that the skate park and other areas that have gone in are adequately covered, and going forward we need to do a piece of work that links actually to our maintenance contract as well, but let's just look at that in a separate time. Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And if you wouldn't mind, Councillor Ralph, bringing that back to the next meeting. I know it's only 2 weeks away, but we need to get it done by
1st of November.
Yeah, thank you. So now we're moving into precept. So thank you, Sue Place and Sean Connery, for staying on the line today and waiting for this time. We have two grants that we gave through precept that we then said at midpoint in the year we wish them to come back and present where they were for two different reasons. Both of them were one was to do with the Bolton Centre, was how they're progressing around youth work in the town and the progress around that, and one was to do with a separate issue around the financial position and sustainability, which was the sports ground. So in the first instance, can I ask Sue, would you just do an overview on whether you've delivered your objectives that were set out at the beginning of the year in terms of the grant, so we can then have a discussion whether we released your second payment?
Yes, I think we have gone as far as we can possibly go towards meeting our main objectives, which was to work, I can't remember the exact figure now, but to work with as many of the young people of Wincanton as we could. And luckily we had got the youth club set up prior to COVID, and it was running really well. We've moved from the Baptist church up to the centre because it was getting cold, and the heating unfortunately wasn't adequate down at the Baptist church, and it was actually it's working well at the centre because we can use 2 rooms simultaneously, and we can always do cooking up there. So of course during lockdown it closed, but our youth worker has kept in touch with all of the young people who had signed up as members and who have been meeting. And she's been running virtual and more recently face-to-face activities out of doors. And we are just about to, in consultation and collaboration with King Arthur's, who Jen Jacqueline is very supportive, start doing indoor sessions again, and it's all sort of quite complicated, but we'll be running 2 nights a week and keeping young people in year groups and swapping rooms over so that they can cook one week and do other activities the following week. We are also picking up the young leaders support project that it will sort of be within this this cohort of young people. There are 5 who want to train as young leaders, and the other thing that's potentially of interest is that we are starting to engage in a project called Make Your Mark, which is a youth parliament for Somerset. So that's it's actually, sorry, it's actually the British Youth Council, which is obviously a national thing, and the UK Youth Parliament has a Make Your Mark campaign to try and get as many young people as possible signed up, which I think would be a great thing, because you know that it will teach young people about democracy and participation and politics and you know, civic responsibility, and you know, lots of things that I think they probably don't get very much of at school. And with the demographic that we're working with, it's a really interesting and good mix of young people, in that there are certainly quite a number who have sort of support needs, who are coming in and really developing and growing from the contact and the relationships that they're building up. But there are also some, quite a few others who are quite confident, who are, you know, really bringing something additional to the youth club, and they're all supporting each other, and there's a lot of peer support and good friendships being made. So Claire, our youth worker, has managed to sustain that through lockdown. She's set them all sorts of tasks and projects and activities, and they've had virtual meetings twice a week, and I think we've just done absolutely everything that we can to keep it going, and now it's ready to come back and start face to face again. It's not going to be particularly easy, because I know that some of the young people themselves are very worried about this, but I think it helped that they've been back at school and mixing with each other. So hopefully we will get a few more than coming in than we initially thought. But that's going to start, I think, next week, the face-to-face. So we will take that forward. I expect they will still continue to do some things down at Kale Park as well. Just checking, yeah, small group sessions will start indoors with social distancing guidelines, bubbles of no more than 15 people, including staff. We've got an amazing volunteers who come in each week, and they are coming back as well and working with the young people too. Everybody's going to wear masks, and yeah, we're just going to pick up, you know, all of the weekly cooking activities, and try and do some intergenerational work as well. So hopefully it will, you know, go ahead. But basically, over the last 6 months, I think it has run as well as it possibly could have done. Certainly put a lot into it. So yeah, I think we have met all of the criteria that we set out in the application.
Thank you. Are there any questions from councillors? Councillor Vag.
So this young person's parliament, what age group is that for?
Ooh, now you're asking. I guess it's under 18s. Oh, 11 to 18.
So I was thinking that maybe Councillor Power has a few younger friends, because he's too old now. A few younger friends who might be interested, that he could pass this on and put them in touch with Sue. Just a thought.
Good thought,
Yep.
Councillor Vag.
Well, I can forward you the information about it if you're interested. Oh, there is a Somerset Youth Parliament group, and yes, they're very right on, because they have campaigns and projects such as well-being, equality, diversity and inclusion, the environment, education, youth voice in school, and attitudes to young people, crime and safety, and skills development. So I think they've covered all bases there.
Thank you.
Isn't their thing, is it MYP? So it's Member of the Youth Parliament, isn't it, for their website for that one? Does anyone know?
It's just called here, for Somerset, it's called Somerset Youth Parliament, and for the national, it's Make Your Mark, so it would be MYM.
Okay.
It's supported by local authorities, UK Parliament and Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport.
I would imagine, I know they do a lot of work with Somerset County Council, and I know that they have worked very closely with the lead member, Councillor Fothergill. So I'm sure our representative from County Council will be able to find contact information for you if you need it, Councillor Power.
Oh yes, that would be good. I think we've got the contact information actually. I think I've got it here. And there is voting that is going to start happening in November, so that's quite exciting.
Excellent. Okay, so recognising time, because it's 18 minutes past 8 and we have 2 hours allocated for our meeting, and we also have a very chunky element of our committee meeting tonight, which is looking at committees and outside bodies. Can I just then ask for this item and precept grants for the Bolson Centre, can I ask if councillors have no further questions, can we vote if you wish to vote for releasing the second tranche of money, and then against if you do not wish to, and then if we have more against, then we will discuss what actions happen next. So for is to release the second tranche of money. So can I have those councillors who wish to release the money first? So for releasing the money, can you put your hand up? So I have Councillor, I'm going to try and get this, Councillor Waters, Councillor Greening, Councillor Vag, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Smith, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Powers and Councillor Shelbourne-Barry. So I believe that's unanimous. Am I correct in that, councillors? Have I missed anyone or misrepresented anyone? No? Thank you. So we've approved your second tranche of money for for the Bolson Centre Youth Service, we would like you to come back at year end, please, and present the achievements for the year. That would be great. And also, please, can I say that we have the Community Awards grant, Community Awards form that's available for under 25s now. So if there are members within the group or within the Bolson Centre you would like to represent through that, please can I just raise that with you, because it is a new award, plus obviously the normal awards we have clearly. But can I make you aware of that? So,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll take that to Claire, our youth worker, and see if there is anybody. You know, some of the young people have come in and volunteered and helped others, and I can imagine that there could be several people who you know, could be nominated. So I will get back to you on that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're welcome.
Thank you for voting for the second tranche as well. That's great.
Thank you. And you're welcome to stay. You can, or you may obviously leave.
I may leave. That's okay.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so the next part of this agenda item is Wincanton Sports Ground. Hello, Sean. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Have you, I'm not sure, Sean, if you've met everyone, but you've seen us all throughout the meeting. So rather than spend time introducing, if I may, because of time constraints, can we just move on? Would you mind doing that now, Sean?
Yeah, that's no problem at all. I'm kind of hoping that everybody had received a copy of the letter that I sent into the town council,
Yes.
which was 3 pages, and it sort of highlighted where we were in terms of the position, which for everybody, I think it's drastically changed, probably in the last 7 months from when we first set out. But what I would say is what's been achieved at the sports ground over that last sort of 7 months or so has particularly been quite drastic in terms of what we've been able to do for the local community during such a challenging time for everybody. So, I mean, one of the key areas in particular was during lockdown, where we were obviously ensuring that the grounds and everywhere else were actually cut and available for people to use, whether that was individuals, families, and various groups as well that have been using it. It's been something that has cost the sports ground considerably more than it normally would in terms of the cutting with regards to fuel, the wear and tear and repairs to the mowers. But ultimately, the volunteers that have been actually going in sort of day in, day out has helped really the local community to have somewhere as a green space they can actually visit and utilise, during what has been quite, challenging times for people, particularly those that are concerned with, gathering of lots of people together. And the rules have changed so significantly over the last 7 months or so, but the sports ground has remained a place that people can attend as a green space and felt quite safe and secure as well. So I think the letter that pointed out, there's obviously quite a lot been happening, in particular with improvements and areas that people can utilise and use with the outdoor gym equipment. But of course, the building itself and the facilities up until very recently have been closed. So we've spent a considerable amount of money, sort of with upkeep of the grounds and various things we've been doing and repairs to the building during this time. But the income stream has been a little bit more challenging. Before the COVID situation, we had various schedules for different music events. We had quizzes, bingo, all sorts of things booked in that had to be cancelled. But we've got quite a lot of the sport coming back now with the first team reserve football, the youth football, tennis, 3G is being used as well and booked out. So with the COVID measures that we've had to put in place, we're trying to make sure that it's secure and safe for everybody to use during the sporting events and various things we're doing. But the volunteers, obviously, that have helped with the sports ground have been significant in what they've done. But that's also helped the town generally to have somewhere that they can go to, which is safe. And I think a lot of the discussions this evening talking about, youth or people being able to use facilities, we have over 200 youth footballers that use the sports ground. But of course, if you look at teams and people visiting coming to town, for both football, tennis, it's going to be the rugby club that are down there as well. We have thousands of visitors then every year that are actually coming to use the sports ground, but coming into town, which opens up opportunities for people to actually visit the town and spend money as well within the high street, but also visiting the likes of, Morrison's, Lidl's, wherever it might be. So I think the sports ground, although it's not kind of, central, it actually brings in a huge amount of people and has a lot of opportunity. And a few of the things I think that just mentioned when I've been listening into the meeting this evening, we talked about things like wildlife opportunities and looking at sustainability and things moving forward. The sports ground does actually have grounds and areas that actually potentially could be utilised for those kinds of things. So if there's groups or people out there that want to make contact, they can. But also I was thinking, in the call, things like the food bank. I'm not sure where, for the winter, where items normally would now get stored for things like the food bank, but we do have potential at the sports ground for use of a changing room or facilities that we could use as a storage space if people needed it. And I suppose finally, one of the other points is we've got, various things coming up, but the sports ground could potentially be used as well and organised for a larger regular market moving forward, because I know sometimes the space in the centre of town can sometimes be a bit limited. But the sports ground, one of the things we do have is a lot of land potential and space where people could be spaced out a bit for a regular market where businesses in town can come down and utilise the space as well. So hopefully that sort of helps put you in the picture of where we are really.
So thank you for the report. That was very helpful, and your overview, Sean. Councillor Vagg, you're muted again. Sorry.
Yeah, those cars go past. Hi, Sean. Hi, Sean. Pleased to meet you. I think the sports ground is very important. We must have a sports ground in town. And I used to take my grandson to the youth football when he was like 9 and 10. And you've got Martin Farrell, isn't it? And his mate. They run that. The only thing is, I did read your letter, and I don't want to criticise, but I'm a bit confused. Why would it cost you more to cut the grass when there's COVID? The grass has to be cut anyway, and you referred to looking after the loos. Well, presumably the centre has been mainly closed, so you've had less cleaning to do. So you've just had the one little outside loo to change the paper in and wash down, but that would be there anyway. Why would that cost you more?
I'm happy to answer those points because, yeah, I mean, in relation to cutting, the weather during COVID was obviously such that actually it required a lot more mowing, cutting than normal, but also with the use of people coming down there so regularly, the outside perimeter, which is for the 3K run and walk as well, was used more regularly. So actually we worked out that instead of, say, for example, 10 hours worth of mowing a week, we were actually doing 30 to 35 hours a week to make sure the grounds were cut in those areas. But also the outside toilet, because normally we've got inside facilities, the outdoor toilet, because it's the only one, as you can imagine, with a lot more people using one toilet, it certainly needed a lot more replenishing and cleaning than it normally would have done. So,
thank you. Any other comments from councillors? Councillor Ralph. You're on mute. You need to unmute.
Got me again. Hello, Sean, and thank you for sitting through this whole formal meeting. What a nightmare for you to get to this part. I've got quite a few questions, and this might lead to another proposal, but I will ask a few and we'll see how we go, but I'm aware of time. I wondered, have you been able to apply for any grants or anything like that in this time? Have you found that you're eligible for anything like that?
Yes, we have. Yeah, so there are grants that we've applied for. Some of that has been as part of user groups and others have been as part of the sports ground. So yes, we had applied to the district council, was successful with a grant. And of course, like with anything else, we've had standing costs that obviously had to remain with regards to the building. So insurance being a particular one, because of course we wouldn't have been able to cancel any of the insurance with the 40 acres we've got in terms of the grounds. But also standing charges with regards to, general cost of electric and everything else. But so yes, we have applied for grants. We also applied as well for the Football Foundation for the youth football teams to actually get new equipment, new goals for safety purposes more than anything, but also for use of the grounds to be able to cut and mow the grounds a lot easier rather than having the goalpost in place. So they're due to be arriving with us very soon. And the sports ground actually contributed, as well as the youth football, towards part of that grant application as well. So where possible, we do try and support the user groups down at the sports ground as well, just to make sure that, you know, where we can and where it's possible, that they're benefiting as well from what we can do for them. And it was me personally that put the application in for the Football Foundation, and looking at different ideas at this time. We were also looking at the likes of Sport England to see if there's other applications available. But obviously during COVID, a lot of their application process was actually closed to deal with COVID applications specifically, as opposed to some of the things we might be able to look at and achieve as well.
Okay. If I may, Chair, can I? Yeah. And do you have any sort of relatively up-to-date accounts that reflect the loss in income that you're talking about, and then obviously, you know, the increased costs that you'd be able to share?
We do have accounts that are obviously being run. We had actually the manager of the sports ground had actually been sort of furloughed during the process as well. So, you know, there's lots of volunteers that have been involved, and actually the accounts are being pulled kind of together and up to date in terms of where we are now. But yes, we do have counts that we do need to run for the sports ground and have them available, which we would be able to look at in more depth and detail. But yeah, as I said, it's now that the user groups are also coming back, that does support with some of the income starting to sort of come back in a little bit, but it is still restricted in terms of what we can actually do with the facility as well.
Mm-hmm. Could I make a proposal, Chair, please?
Yes, please.
I want to start by thanking Sean for coming tonight, and I feel particularly bad making this proposal because he sat here for several hours and also just really eloquently answered all my questions. But I've done some work on looking back at what's been proposed and what's said in the past in terms of your funding, and I'm really keen to see some numbers. And this isn't necessarily a reflection of Sean's report, because it's a really good report, and I've also really enjoyed hearing from him in person tonight. But, you know, lots of things have been said about numbers and the dire straits that you're in, and I think it would be really important to take a closer look at this. And I don't just mean in reference to this grant, this second tranche, but actually going forward in terms of, you know, the sports ground going forward and how they may be supported by the town council. So I'd like to propose that we invite Sean and any of his colleagues that he thinks are appropriate, directors and trustees, to have a meeting outside of full council with council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Power, could you unmute?
I'll second that one.
Thank you. So we have a proposer and a seconder for the Wincanton Sports Ground to meet with council, the trustees and the operational board to do so, for us to then review the ground's business plans and financial stability going forward, and what our role as council is within that. So in terms of proposer and seconder and a vote from the floor, can I have hands up if you're for that, please? And if you're against, can you clearly put your hand down? So for, if you're for a meeting. So I have Councillor Thomas, Councillor Power, Councillor Waters, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Smith, Councillor Greening, Councillor Vagg, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow. So I believe that's a full set, and I'm not aware that I've missed anyone or misrepresented anyone. Is that correct? There's no one against? So thank you for that, Sean. We will be in touch and request a meeting with you. It will be via Zoom, it won't be in person, and we will look to hold that meeting as soon as possible to look at the areas of that we've discussed tonight. But also we do recognise the importance of the sports ground, but also it needs to be seen in the remit of the difficulties that we are facing in the years that we are facing around recession and the town, supporting the town as a whole. So it would be really good to understand how we could work together around that. And I really love the fact you've talked about the environment and nature, and where there may be other opportunities we can work together and actually look at where that can benefit us all as a community and young people and all age groups. So it'll be great to do that, and as soon as possible. So we will be in touch. It may not be till next week, so please don't worry if it's not this week, because our deputy won't be able to contact you this week, but next week we'll be in contact and try and arrange it as soon as possible in October. Is that okay?
Councillor Groscott, I think, wishes to speak.
Sorry, you've got, are you on a phone, Councillor Gross?
No, not at all.
Oh, right. Sorry, I
No.
missed your hand, so I apologise.
Don't worry. I wouldn't really usually interrupt in your business, but you did a new proposal to meet with them and look at their books and everything, but you haven't taken any account of the fact that they're due their grant. And if they don't have their grant, it may affect the sustainability, which we don't know. And in COVID times and everything else, it's impossible for them to present their accounts when their manager is on furlough. I don't know that you've actually taken into account that this may harm the sports ground.
No, I think we have. I think what we're saying is we're going to look at it as part of a bigger conversation. And that's why we want to do it as soon as possible. So we want to look at the grant, but we want to also look at other areas at the same time. So it is about the sustainability and our role within that as council as well, to support the service. So I hear where you're coming from, but I hadn't actually perceived it as that. Councillor Ralph.
I just wanted to add, I hear Councillor Groscott, and I do feel awful about making this proposal, but when I've looked back, the second tranche is based on preparing financial statements, and I believe an audit of the sports ground, which hasn't happened, which is, you know, why I'm proposing what I'm proposing. And I also feel awful because I recognise that Sean is a volunteer. I've seen in the town that he's working very hard on this, and doing this, but I do feel it needs a closer look. But I'm happy for someone to make an alternate proposal if that's the case.
Can I just add some more comments, if that's okay?
Mm-hmm.
So can I just, before you do, Sean, can I just ask the Locum Clerk, where did we get to with that proposal? Did we complete the vote?
You proposed, yes, and you completed a vote.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I understood that before. Sean, you wish to speak?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, you know, so far actually from what's you know, being discussed, I understand the point that you want to have a look at the sustainability and, you know, the finance side of it. That's not an issue. That's not a problem. But what I would have quite liked, if that was something that you wanted to have a look at, was potentially to ask for that information prior to this, then having this meeting, because actually I put together a 3-page letter, which I issued on the 11th of September personally. I didn't have an actual acknowledgement to the letter and the detail of the letter until then, obviously, this meeting today. So I think what would have been quite useful is if somebody had fed back to say, well, actually, could we have a little bit more from you around that? Because I've spent, you know, now the last nearly, well, an hour and 38 minutes or so, sort of sat in the call for my time to have a discussion. And, you know, I've been very patient, sat here waiting. There's a lot of work that I'm putting in to try and make the sports ground sustainable and the work that's going in. And I appreciate the comment to say that actually the decision for this evening, really, as far as I was concerned, was to say, well, actually, given the COVID circumstances, given all of the work that the sports ground and volunteers and everybody's put into it, is actually, you know, here's the other 5,000 for you guys to be able to get on and actually, you know, run things as you've been running it, so that actually you can run things properly, move forward with the sports ground, and then potentially for the next application process, prior to that as well, if needed, we could have sat down, had this meeting, had this discussion around the sustainability of the sports ground moving forward and what we can do. But at this moment in time, you know, we've got user groups back, sports ground with lots of people using it, volunteers spending huge amounts of time and hours, countless hours, making sure that the place is still running. And then sort of to be met with this sort of discussion now is extremely, extremely frustrating, given that actually that could have been information that was requested 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. And I could have been in a better position to sit here and actually give you a bit more of what you wanted. without
Okay.
even having a reply to my letter.
Thank you. Right, before I respond to Councillor Ralph and allow you to speak, Councillor Ralph, I first want to apologise that your letter that you submitted on the 11th was not responded to or acknowledged, because we will look at our internal processes to ensure that that is completed, and we will pick that up in terms of how we deal with that going forward. I would say though that we did actually clarify on the 2nd of September exactly what we were looking for in terms of the sports ground business plans and financial sustainability updated report. That's actually what we specified, and that we asked for it by the 14th of September. And if we weren't clear on the framework of what that might look like, then we need to also revisit that. So again, that's a learning opportunity for us as a council that we need to revisit, and I will take that learning, and we will take that learning into a review we're doing of our governance processes. Councillor Ralph, you wish to speak?
It was purely to ask you to clarify what we'd asked for, because I believe what you've just listed we'd already asked for.
Yes, on the 2nd of September. And it was clarified when we this was clarified following the release of the funding in the first instance, when we released the first tranche of money. So it's unfortunate, I'm sorry, that it hadn't made its way through in its machinations in terms of clarity on what that might look like. But we are where we are. Where we are today is we will be requesting a meeting with yourselves, the trustees and directors, to release not only the second tranche, but actually look at how we can work together going forward and where there's opportunities for that. But we first need to make sure what we're doing is the right thing in terms of that support package, but also we are heading, as I said previously, into difficult times. And every penny of public spend needs to be accounted for, and we need to just make sure it's in the right place at all times. And that doesn't mean to say that it's not rightly spent within the sports ground. It's just that we need to have a very small pot of money spread out much more thinly for next year and the year after, and that's all we're looking to do. So if we could meet, Sean, I went round, I met with you, I had a lovely time seeing what you did around the sports ground. We'd value that conversation with you. And again, I can only apologise. We were not clear about what requirements we required for you and the format we required it in. And we will rectify that going forward. Okay.
I appreciate those comments. I mean, as I said, because the letter just says council would like an updated report on the sports ground business plans and financial sustainability.
Yes.
Please let me have your report by the 14th of September.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I understand that, but actually the report and what I've submitted is as far as somebody probably would be able to give you an update when it's coming to the COVID situation and the financial position, because again, you know, I think every business has been affected substantially, you know, by what's gone on. The sports ground is no different to that. And I think that the position we're in now is actually even more frustrating than probably, you know, where we would have started off, that if we were just sort of, you know, sailing along and dealing with it just ourselves. But, you know, I think, you know, for the town to maybe ask us to sort of jump through some more hoops is probably even more challenging at this stage, because, you know, we've tried to actually just make sure that members of the public can actually use the facility and actually enjoy what's available there. So yeah, I mean, it's a frustrating situation because I've now had to sit, you know, throughout the whole of this call, wait patiently to be heard that actually we're not going to be making a decision on that this evening. Let's have another meeting, which I would have preferred to have probably just held that off rather than sat here for, you know, almost 2 hours waiting to have that discussion, really.
Okay, well, again, we note what you've said, and we will be in contact very quickly as soon as we can with some potential dates for us to come together as a larger group and make a decision not only on the grant, but actually supporting you in terms of what that might look like going forward in pressured times. So Sean, you're welcome to stay, but also you may leave if you wish at this time.
Okay, right, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. So moving on to the next, have you recorded that Locum Clerk?
Yes.
Thank you. So we'll be sending an invite to them. And I do think, councillors, we actually have an item on our agenda for a governance review. This is timely because I think it's about, we need to be better at what we do in terms of explaining that. So moving on to point 12, recognising it's 2044. So I also note that this is going to take time. So to make sure we get what we need to get completed, correspondence, we have, can I just say, under correspondence, I don't think there's any pressing items under correspondence. So if pressed, I may well be moving correspondence forward to the next meeting because it's going to take time for us to get through. Correspondence and items for the next agenda can be held outside the meeting if we get tight on this. Okay, I know it's 45 minutes, but 15 minutes goes like very quickly, and we have 2 hours for a meeting unless I've counted my minutes wrongly, which I don't believe I have. So here we go. So Wincanton, point 12 is council representatives, committees and outside bodies. So following the resignation of 5 councillors, we're now looking to review those gaps or now availability for other councillors to join working groups and committees on council. So the first one, if I may, is to go through the top of the list that's come off of our website. So I'm going to try and do this as it's come off our website. So apologies for any if it doesn't seem to fit right. So on our website it says Councillor Shelbourne Barrow and the deputy are ex officiado members of all committees. I don't believe that's the case anymore, and I will check that. But in terms of HR policy, we've reviewed a number of our policies and it's revised that, so I will get that revisited as part of our governance review. The grievance and discipline committee is no longer relevant. That's no longer clear. Kale Park committee has 5 members, which is Councillor Tudgay, Vagg, Smith and Waters. So we now need another member to the Kale Park committee. So we're not electing a committee or a chair. We're just identifying one councillor to attend in addition to Councillor Tudgay, Vagg, Smith and Waters. Does anyone wish to join that committee? Councillor Vagg, you're already on it.
I haven't been going because they were always having them on a Monday when I'm working. So
Are you saying?
I haven't de facto been a member of that working party for some time.
So are
I'm
you
happy to be so, and I'm happy to be so, but not if they have it on a Monday afternoon.
Okay. So are you saying you'll stay on and you'll have that discussion with Councillor Tudgay, who's the chair?
Okay, yeah.
So is there anyone else who wishes to join that committee? Okay, so I think I'm going to put myself down, if I may, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow, to join the Kale Park committee. Locum Clerk, for committees, do we need a proposer and a seconder and a vote?
Advisable.
I thought as much. So I'm sorry it's going to take time, but we're going to be swift. Swift, please. So can I have a proposer for me to join the Kale Park committee, Councillor Smith, and a seconder is Councillor Vagg, and a vote from the floor, please. Councillor Thomas, Councillor Power, Councillor Waters, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Smith, Councillor Greening, Councillor Vagg, Councillor Shelbourne Barrett, full set. Thank you very much. The Town Hall Regeneration Committee has 5, of which it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need one more person on there. I'm going to put myself forward if no one else wants to be on it. So this is the Town Hall Regeneration. Does anyone wish to be on the Town Hall Regeneration Committee?
I'm already on it though, aren't I? Yeah.
You are. Greening, Tudgay, Vagg and Gazine. Councillor Ralph.
I'll go on to it.
Okay, thank you. So can I have a proposer? Councillor Smith, a seconder, Councillor Greening, and a vote from the floor, please. So,
Everybody.
Councillor Thomas, Councillor Power, Councillor Waters, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Smith, Councillor Greening, Councillor Vag, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, full set. Thank you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. Finance committee. So we have 1, 2. We currently have 3, which is Smith. On the finance committee, we currently have Smith, Vag, and myself. So it's 3. We need 2 more members to finance, please. And that's a really important meeting. So Councillor Greening, are you proposing yourself?
Yes.
So Councillor Greening is proposing yourself. Can I have a proposer, please, for Councillor Greening? Councillor Smith. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Ralph. And can I have a vote for the floor for Councillor Greening? So I have Councillor Thomas, Councillor Power, Councillor Waters, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Smith, Councillor Vag, and Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow supporting Councillor Greening's election. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. It's correct, isn't it, Locum? Yes.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
Councillor Greening. So I need another one for the Finance Committee, please, if you wouldn't mind. Councillor Thomas, are you proposing yourself, putting yourself forward? Excellent. Councillor Thomas is putting yourself forward. I have a proposer, which is Councillor Smith. I have a seconder, which is Councillor Power. And then I vote from the floor, please. So Councillor Power, Councillor Waters, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Smith, Councillor Councillor Greening, Councillor Vag, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow. So we stop voting for ourselves. You can still vote for yourself, can't you? If you want to, you can vote for yourself. Councillor. Look, I'm doing it quickly, but that's to achieve the task, because if you saw the list, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that correct? 8.
Yes.
Thank you. So the next, so that's the committees completed. Then we have, oh no, it isn't. I beg your pardon. So in July, on the 13th, 0036, we agreed as council to have a planning committee. However, what we didn't do is elect a chair and the committee to go with the planning committee. So now we need to elect a chair and then elect the planning committee. So who would like to be chair of the planning committee? Councillor Thomas, are you proposing yourself as chair?
Yeah.
I thought we'd already discussed it. But
No,
anyway.
I'm afraid when we had the meeting, we agreed it, but when I went back through the minutes, there was no record of
Okay.
named people. So
Well, I won't nominate myself. I mean, this sort of.
So which groups can nominate their chair at their first meeting?
no, you can't, for a committee has to nominate in the full council.
Okay.
So only the other working group can
I see.
nominate a chair, but not a committee. So that's why we need to do it in this meeting. And it was wrong that we didn't do it on the 13th of July. So yes, Councillor Vag.
I think from the standing orders, it's permanent or standing committees
Yes.
where the chair has to be elected at the council meeting. Any other committees or subcommittees and working groups can elect their chair at the first meeting.
Yes. However, the planning committee is a
The
permanent
standing
meeting.
committee.
Yes.
Yes, that's got to be done
So
now.
can I have a proposer for chair, please? Yes, Councillor Smith. You're muted. Are you proposing? Are you proposing, Councillor Thomas? This is like, you could just start doing this, you know.
It's a play.
Could you just take yourself off mute, please? You're a
I
bit
was
much
super
use.
quick. I was trying to speed things along. I put my hand up as soon as you said it, and now it's backfired.
Right,
Come on.
I have a proposer for Councillor Thomas. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Power. Can I have a vote supporting the chair of Councillor Thomas? So Councillor Power, Councillor Smith, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Waters, Councillor Greening, Councillor Vag, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow. So it's 1, 2, I'm losing the words at 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you.
Probably
So
8, surely.
no, because Councillor Thomas didn't vote for himself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Did you not?
No. So now I need 5 people to be on the planning committee. So can I just ask you put your hand up if you would like to be a member? So Councillor Power, you'd like to be a member? Would anyone else like to be a member? Councillor Greening? Councillor Waters? Councillor Vag? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the chair.
Are
So
we
that's-
allowed to leave a slot open for Councillor Tudgate at a later date?
well, we can have more. It just means that if he's there, he doesn't have a vote.
Okay.
But he'll have a vote in council. He just
Mhm.
won't have a vote in committee.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, Councillor, did he ask to be on the committee? He hasn't actually said he wants to be. Yes, Councillor Greening, you're waving.
Yeah, is this the opportunity to gain advice about getting some sort of education from Nulk and Sulk about
Yes.
planning? Okay, because
Yeah.
I would definitely like to go on that course.
Yeah. So can I just agree this so that we can then request that the following agenda items are moved forward, because we're not going to complete the others. I have one more meeting I want to move forward, agree tonight, and the others we're going to have to move forward at this rate because it's 5-2 unless I have agreement for you to extend the meeting. So do you want to extend the meeting enough to complete this task tonight? And then we move forward the correspondence and items for the correspondence.
Yeah,
let's get it done.
I think so.
Yeah, I'll propose that.
So
Yeah,
you
I'll second
propose
that.
we extend the meeting until we complete the task.
Yeah.
Can I have a seconder, please? So seconder is Councillor Smith, and can I have a vote from the floor, please? So Councillor Power, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Waters, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Smith, Councillor Greening, Councillor Vag, Councillor Shelbourne-Barry. Thank you. So we'll stay till we complete the task. Thank you very much. Right, so going back to the point in hand, we now have a chair, we have 5 members, and Councillor Tudgate can also be in the meeting, but he won't have voting rights. That's just it, which is, I'm sure he'll be fine with, because we have yes, that'll be fine. Locum Clerk, do we need to vote that? Did we vote that?
You did vote it.
Thank you. I'm losing, sorry guys, I'm now slowing down a notch so I can actually remember what I've done while trying to get this job done.
Right.
Thank you. So the next working group that I want to talk about is a new working group called the Governance Working Group. And the Governance Working Group is a new group to look at all of our governance, and tonight was a point in case. We haven't reviewed what we do and how we do it, our policies and procedures, for some time. And it would seem timely, with all the changes that are going on, that we do so, and that we make sure we're fit for purpose going forward, building on the work that we've been doing over the last year or so. So with that in mind, the working group means that we only need to elect 5 people to be part of that group, but obviously other councillors can join that group as and when they wish to, and we will elect a chair in the meeting, because it's not a committee, it's a working group. Okay, everyone happy with that and understanding why we're putting that forward as an opportunity now? So I was looking for at least 5 people, so we are quorate. So can I have 5 people who wish to be on the governance working group, please, to raise your hand? So I have Councillor Greening, Councillor Vag, Mr. Ellard. I would ask that you remove yourself from the meeting now, if you're going to be offensive. I've removed Mr. Ellard for his behaviour.
Child.
Right, so we're back again. So can I ask
5 minutes.
the 5 that, so did you note at 20:59 I removed Mr. Ellard for offensive behaviour? Sorry guys. So Councillor Greening, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, Councillor Vagg, Councillor Ralph and Councillor Power. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are members of the governance working group, but all councillors are welcome to be part of that working group and can attend at any given point. And when we prepare the papers and the Zoom invite is shared, you can then join if you so wish. As with all of our working groups and committees, you're welcome to attend, but you won't have voting rights. You just can attend with the permission of the chair if it's a closed session, for example. Are you happy with that, Locum Clerk? Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Moving into the other meeting I think we do need to look at is Car Parks Committee. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. We are quorate with that. But is there anyone of our new councillors, and I open this up to those that have recently joined, who might be interested in joining the Car Park Committee?
Can I ask a question? What is it that I thought the whole car park debate had sort of been put to bed in terms of how it was going to be executed and how we were going to pay for it and that sort of thing. What are the issues that are surrounding that are going to cause or have a need for debate?
The Car Park Committee will be an ongoing issue for us because while we still have a compensation scheme in the town, we will need to revisit our car parking scheme, and we will need to look at what we do and how we do it. So I think that this is here in case we need to do anything different. If we've got streets in the town that might choose to, I don't know, have submitted proposals in their own right. So I think we should still maintain the car parking committee, that we can reinstate if we need to, put it live, so to speak. And we've got agreed personnel who would sit on that committee. I don't think we should stand it down because we've got a compensation scheme.
Okay.
And so Councillor Power, the people that are on it are myself, Smith, Thomas, Vagg and Tudgay. And Councillor Power, you asked to join. So because we're over 5, you wouldn't be voting, but I think it will be a good thing for you to be part of. Did you? Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Power. So that's all right. The same would be for, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. So WEEP is a working group, and we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4 people on that. 4 councillors: Tudgay, Vagg, Ralph and Power. Are there any councillors who would like to join that in addition to WEEP? I thought you were part of that, Zach.
I am.
So why is your name not there? These are vastly out of date. Zach, I'm putting you down because I actually think you're part of it. I don't understand why you're not on that one. So WEEP, Zach I'm sure you're part of that group because
Yeah.
Okay, so we're fine with that one. Wincanton for the Future, the named councillors are myself, Vagg, Tudgay, Smith and Gazine. However, I would say that all councillors are members of this group. It's not just those named ones. So just so you're aware, and I would actively invite new councillors who have recently joined, if you would like to become more active in it, then I would welcome your attendance. Again, voting is not, you wouldn't be part of the voting because the people who vote are the stakeholders because of the way the terms of reference are set up. But nevertheless, your voice is valid, and I'd very much like for your voice to be there as much as other councillors who are part of that. The complaints panel, appeals panel, 1, 1, 2, 3. Right, so the appeals panel, we don't currently have terms of reference for. Can I leave that with you, Councillor Ralph, to look at? Because currently you only have 2 people named here, which is Councillor Power and Councillor Thomas on the appeals panel now. And there should be 5, but we don't have a terms of reference. So I think what I'd like to say to you is, can we have the terms of reference for that panel to come back to council, and when it does, we'll revisit them?
We can't form the appeals panel until it's required.
But we named people. Why did we name people?
That was. I think we were about to use it.
Yeah, it's fine to have them named in waiting,
okay,
but we won't actually form it because the appeals panel.
Oh no, not form it. What I'm meaning is there a terms of reference for that panel? So if it needed to be formed, or do you only form it when you need it?
The panel would meet and agree their own terms of reference.
Fair enough, that's fine. So in terms of named councillors, do you want to agree as chair of personnel who those individuals are now, or do you want to leave it as it is and just have 2?
It would be, I think, unfortunately, I think the only person we can add isn't present, which is Councillor Tudgay. So
okay.
In the event of calling an appeals panel, we will have to add him, but I don't think we can do it in his absence, can we? So,
no. Okay, I'm going to leave it that we're.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Councillor Greening as well. You could also be on this panel.
Okay.
I thought it says here, Gazine, Smith, Vag, and Waters is on one committee. The one panel, can they not be the same? They can't be the same.
No, absolutely not. No.
Okay, I'm going to leave it for now and just leave it with you as chair of personnel to note that we're not that committee on our website, and we'll come up with a set of words with the deputy clerk to record. Personnel is Corat, I think. Yep, personnel is fine. No requirement to revisit that. I would say the Christmas planning group, chaps, which is Greening, Thomas and Tudgay, it's called a committee and it has 3 people on it. So I'm not going to revisit that today. But I would like to have some understanding of whether it's a committee or whether it's a working group at some given point when Councillor Tudgay is
definitely
available.
A working group.
Yes, Councillor Greening.
I was under the impression it was a working group.
I think it sounds better.
Yeah, well, if it's a working group, that's fine. We can do that. We just need to change it. So, locum clerk, how do we change that? Is it just noting it and changing the terms of reference and then the numbers?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't see why. Yeah, I don't think you've got to go through a whole proposal and format it.
Okay.
You're changing the name of it, aren't you?
Christmas working.
Working, yes, exactly.
Working group.
A working group, working party.
Yeah. Okay. Working group.
Working group.
Yes, thank you. So we're changing it, and Councillor Greening, Thomas and Tudgay are the members of that. Yes, they are. So if you wouldn't mind noting that, please, in the minutes, that would be great. And then we'll inform the deputy clerk. So in terms of membership of outside bodies, are you up to this, guys? It's 9:08. I apologise. We will be done quickly. So allotments. Steve Lee is asked to be removed because we need a bigger discussion about where allotments sit going forward. So I'll leave that for now. The Bolson Centre is Councillor Greening. That remains, unless Councillor Greening says otherwise. Citizens Advice Viewer is Councillor Vag. Community Accessible Transport, CAT. We need a representative for that outside body. Is there a representative who wishes to step forward? No? Okay. I think what I'm going to do is look at what activity there is around that and ask if we can receive minutes from the meetings if there are any, because currently we don't have a representative, and when the meetings are, and I'll bring that back because I don't know if they're evenings or whenever they are. Friends of Wincanton Community Hospital is currently covered. Live at Home, which is now MHA Community South Somerset, is Councillor Waters. Memorial Hall representative, is anyone wishing to take that as one of their outside bodies?
I will.
Thank you. Planning is Councillor Thomas. Tourist is Deputy. Wincanton Chamber of Trade and Representatives, Councillor Gazine. Wincanton Museum representative, I don't mind taking that. I'm not putting myself forward above anyone else, but if anyone else has got a pressing, yes, Councillor Bag, would you like to do it?
Museum.
Pardon?
I'll do the museum, yeah, I like them.
Excellent, Councillor Varrick, brilliant, thank you. Wincanton School representatives, and I believe we added preschools. Anyone interested in, yes? Councillor Greening and Councillor Power, would you both like to do that?
Yeah.
Would you both like to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Greening and Power. Thank you. Sports ground, please. Can I have two representatives?
Can I? Yeah.
Councillor Ralph, Councillor Power. Is there anyone else? Power. Ralph.
Can I also add at this stage that the reason I would like to do that and the Memorial Hall is I see them both as very key for our town, and I think we need to, think of things in groupings more and more holistically. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And finally, Wincanton United Charities is Councillor Tudgay, and I've removed the other name that was on there because it shouldn't have been there because they're not a councillor. So I believe that is a full set. Congratulations. Thank you very much for your time. I will, yes, Councillor Thomas.
Very briefly, does anybody want to know the year-on-year figures for crime?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, antisocial behaviour down 4. Burglary remains the same. Criminal damage and arson is up 3. Other theft up 6, public order down 4, vehicle crime down 1, and violent crime down 3. So that's July to July 1920. So
just arson has gone up then, basically. Mm-hmm. Just arson has gone up then.
Yes, and other theft.
That's interesting. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Can I just, I don't think we voted to move forward. We voted to extend the meeting to cover the, but we didn't, can I just cover, do you want correspondence move forward? Did we vote to cover correspondence or move it forward?
Correspondence was going to be moved forward.
Excellent. Okay, that's fine. I think that's good because I think we've covered a lot tonight, I think, for all of us.
And the items for next agenda was moved forward.
If
you were just going to do that outside the meeting.
Yes. So can I ask councillors, if you have items you wish to include on the agenda for the next meeting, which is in October, can I ask that you send those through and copy in council? And then we will have a discussion about when we include them. And if they're a priority to be included early on in October, then we will look to see what can be moved around because of AGAR and all the other issues that need to be taken into account. In addition, we are moving towards precept. So we're going into a very busy time. So be aware that we will start to have to think about budget setting for next financial year, and that will require us to look in detail at projects we currently are working with, but and also projects we will be looking to take forward or not due to financial pressures for next year. So I put that out there because I think we need to also make sure that as a council, we allocate sufficient time to ensure we get the right support and advice for us to make the right decisions. So please put anything forward that you feel needs to be covered from any of your work areas as a councillor on email to the clerk and copy in council, so we're all cited. And then we can have an open and honest conversation around setting the agendas in October and into November through to December. Okay. Thank you, everyone. It's been a long night, but a useful meeting, and I thank you for your time. Have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Locum Clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.